it turns out that a 22-year-old has created an app that claims to detect text that has been generated by ChatGPT. This tool is called GPTZero, and the creator is named Edward Tian, and he is a senior at Princeton University who, interestingly enough, appears to both have a background in computer science, specifically working on large language models like the ones that power ChatGPT, and also, I believe, has a background in journalism. So he's coming at the field from both the science and kind of the art of generating stories, text, and writing. And he created the tool in a holiday weekend. Like I think it was like 3 or 4 days, which is crazy. Because he believes that AI is at, quote, an inflection point, and it has the potential to be, quote, incredible, but also terrifying. And so, briefly, the way this app works is basically you plug in text that you suspect may have been generated by ChatGPT, and the app looks at two variables. The variables they are calling perplexity and, quote, burstiness, and it basically assigns each variable a score. So first, the app measures how familiar it is with the text presented, given what it has seen during training. So it's essentially using a similar large language model to vet the output of a large language model. And the less familiar it is, then the higher the text, quote, perplexity is, which means it's more likely to be human written, at least according to Tian. It then measures, quote, burstiness by scanning the
What a
text to
great
see.
word. Burstiness.
Right.
Fantastic.
You might see something like that in like the, word of the year in the
It's
next 12
fantastic.
months. So this burstiness is basically scanning the text to see how variable it is. So if it varies a lot, it's more likely to be human written. So the overall point here is that we've talked about in a couple podcasts the impact of ChatGPT, both on what we do, content and marketing, but also on education and how students are just finding a crazy number of use cases for it in schools and in the process kind of upending how education works. So Tian basically created this to be able to detect ChatGPT generated text and give teachers some type of tool to be able to actually regulate this stuff and start understanding what assignments are being generated by AI. And it's just blown up in popularity. It's an incredibly successful, just kind of free project that I believe last time I checked, about 6,000 educators had been claiming they were trying to use or explore as a way to understand are what my students creating, is it being created by ChatGPT? And so one last point he mentioned that I thought was really worth looking at is he said the app, he's not against AI at all. He studies it, but he just aims to create it to incentivize originality in human writing and prevent what he calls the, quote, hallmarkization of everything, like a Hallmark cards, where all of our written communication becomes formulaic and is devoid of the human creativity, personalities, ideas, and emotions that we would typically say is really personal, human, and good writing. So first off, Paul, I wanted to ask you, could you talk through some of the potential ethical issues that arise from the use of AI-generated text and how GPT-0 might be useful in addressing those?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as ChatGPT came out, you knew that something like this would emerge. But I don't even look at this as that new of a concept, because if you think about the way that Google works, and we're going to talk about Google, I think, more today. There's this constant effort to identify legitimate good content. Now, language models have created some complexity in this scenario where it becomes harder and harder to distinguish, because any of us who've played around with ChatGPT realize it's actually pretty good at sounding like human written content. So you can understand that, from an education standpoint, certainly it becomes very challenging to know, did my students actually write this? But I look at that in a way as almost like, I mean, students who are going to cheat are going to find ways to cheat. They always have. And if they pay someone else to write their paper for them, it's still going to sound like a human written paper. And are you going to know they did it or not? At the end of the day, they're just cheating themselves. So I think you're going to have this ongoing sort of arms race of AI trying to determine if something was generated by AI. You could see incentive for Google and other search engines to want to know if it's AI generated content because they might want to, not give as strong a ranking for AI generated content. They might want to incentivize human written content. Google said as much in their guidelines and their policies. Um, so I think it does become a bit of an ethical choice that people are going to have. And this is why we keep always pushing responsible use of AI, that you shouldn't use it to take shortcuts. You should use it to enhance and augment what you're doing as a writer, but it shouldn't be to remove the human in the loop. We're not trying to arrive at a point where we don't have it. Um, but, they're not going to be alone. Like I saw a comment, a quick backdrop. So the topic we're talking about, the way this emerged for us is our marketing institute, Twitter account shared this article on like Friday morning or something like that. I think I saw it. So Kathy McPhillips and our team put this on Twitter. So I took it. I was Saturday morning. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I started thinking about the human impact side. I started thinking about, what he's trying to do. And obviously the tool probably works. I think I saw one data report, like 60% of the time it works. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, he built it in 72 hours with no resources. Like it's going to get better. So I saw some people like, oh, it doesn't even, recognize all the time. I was like, it's a college student in a weekend with no financing. Like it's going to get better. So I thought it was interesting that the innovation happened so quickly that somebody was able to do this that fast. But the other was that the reason why he was doing it. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I throw this on LinkedIn. And I put this on Saturday morning, around like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. So we are 72 hours removed from when I posted this on LinkedIn. It has 202,000 impressions. The most popular thing I have ever put on LinkedIn had like 65,000 impressions. So to give context, this topic blew up. Now, I don't know if the LinkedIn algorithm loved it or it just resonated with so many people, but judging by the 120 plus comments and 250 plus reshares of it, it resonates in a lot of levels with people. And the vast majority of the comments were extremely positive toward this idea that one, innovation is happening this quickly. Two, there was definitely fear factor. There was a lot of people just like uncertain about what this all means. But three, I think most people resonate with the human side of this, that there was this effort to, continue to make writing mean something, to continue to understand the elements of emotion that go into writing, the elements of human experience that go into writing. And so I haven't even been able to get through all the comments, but the comments to it have been fantastic. But I happened to see one this morning from Christina, and she's actually an adjunct professor and teaches a marketing course. And she said that her university just upgraded to Turnitin Originality, which I guess is a new feature from Turnitin, which has been used to find copies or cases where students were using content illegally. And so even that platform, Turnitin, has already innovated as well to try and identify AI written content. So, Edward's not going to be alone. It's not like this is the only game in town when it comes to this, but I think you're going to see this constant push for people are going to seek originality. Like they're going to increasingly want to know something was written by a human. And I don't know if like you're never going to know for sure. Like, I think there might be probability scores. Like, I could almost envision a day in the near future where you're reading something online and there's a score next to it. It's like, this isn't 92% probability that it was written by a human or with AI support. Like, I don't know. I haven't had time to really process all of where this is going to go and what I think it's going to end up looking like. But I can tell just from the 200 some thousand impressions and, hundreds of comments on this one post, people want that.
Mm.
They want to know if they're reading something that was purely written by an AI. And I don't know about you, but like Twitter is becoming almost unreadable at times
Mm.
because I feel like every every thread on Twitter is just a Chat GPT output. And
Yeah.
it's maddening. Like I've stopped even looking at Twitter threads that are coming from anything other than journalists I know aren't using ChatGPT to write them. Um, so I'm already feeling after 2 months of ChatGPT, like, oh my gosh, like not another AI generated SEO friendly list of something. Like it's driving me
Mhm.
nuts.
I think it's worth reiterating too, and you talked about it quite a bit, the speed here, because Edward, like you said, is not alone. Edward is clearly very talented. And I don't want to diminish his accomplishment, but based on the nature of some of these models and tools out there and foundational tools to build AI solutions, the rate of innovation is dramatically faster than if we were talking about traditional software. Like Edward didn't need, 2 months to put some code into production. He built this over a weekend. And like you said, um, the plagiarism tool has already updated. And then I guarantee you, someone, maybe OpenAI, maybe another model, may actually use some of those tools to train their tool
Oh,
to dodge those tools.
the technology is not going to win here. Like at the end of the day, it's going to come back to humans making this ethical decisions and being responsible about the use of the tools. Like it's what technology always comes down to is it gives humans these powers and then they have to choose how they're going to use those powers. These are just more powerful than anything we've had before when it comes to this realm. So, yeah, I mean, I think more and more, and you and I were talking about this yesterday, I think more and more it's going to be on individual brands and media companies and publishers and agencies to be proactive in defining how they are using AI. So it's clear when I get to a website, okay, they're using AI tools, but they're using them for this purpose. Like
Mm,
what I'm reading, the CNET article we talked about
yep.
before, where they were just like straight up using AI to just pump out a bunch of crap, honestly. And yes, it ranked for SEO, but it was really just to generate revenue and affiliate links and stuff. So that's an unethical use of AI, in my opinion. It's
Mm,
misleading intentionally to the user. You don't want them to really know AI wrote the stuff. And I think that that's going to go away real fast. Like you're going to obviously have a bunch of these companies that try and take these shortcuts. But I think that the general internet population will revolt against stuff that is blatantly trying to mislead them and make me think, did a human write this or not? It's like, just be straight up. Like,
yep.
human wrote this, but we used AI to do the summarization part. Like, just say it. Because I think your credibility will be so much higher if you're just transparent in how you use it rather than trying to hide the fact that you're doing it. And that's what's bothering me right now with so much of this junk that I'm starting to see on Twitter
Mm,
and even, just some of the stuff that gets shared elsewhere. Um, it's so obvious that someone who has no idea what they're doing created something to make it seem like they actually have a clue. And it bothers me. Maybe it bothers me as writer. Like it frustrates me. I don't know, but yeah, just don't use it to take shortcuts. It's not going to end up well for you or your brand if if you mislead people intentionally about your use of these tools.